January 19th, 2026, Hard Rock Stadium, Miami, Florida, a city Fernando Mendoza had called home his entire life. And on the biggest stage in college football, with the national championship on the line, he ran it in himself.
Got to get to the 8. He's going to take off and run. Mendoza weaves his way first and goal, diving toward the end zone. Touchdown!
But to understand what that moment meant, you have to go back. Back to a Cuban family that lost everything. Back to a mother fighting a battle every single day. Back to a 2-star recruit that almost went to Yale. This is the story of Fernando Mendoza. Before Fernando Mendoza ever threw a football, his family had already fought for something far greater than any trophy. In 1959, as the Cuban Revolution transformed the island forever, Fernando's grandparents made a decision that would define generations. They packed what they had and they left for Miami. That Cuban bloodline, that fire, that sacrifice, that refusal to quit runs through Fernando and his younger brother Alberto. Fernando has said it himself. He doesn't play football for himself. He plays for his family. He plays for every grandparent who crossed that ocean with nothing but faith. Faith has always been central to who Fernando is. He's outspoken about his Catholic beliefs, attending Mass on game days, leading Bible study on campus. That spiritual foundation became even more critical when life delivered its most difficult blow. His mother, Elsa, was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis. MS is a relentless disease. It attacks the nervous system. It doesn't stop. And yet, in Fernando's eyes, she's never been a victim. She's been a warrior. He's raised money for MS research through restaurant menu items he and Alberto created at every school they've played. The Mendoza burrito in Berkeley. The Mendoza brothers.
When I'm off the field, I'm an avid burrito connoisseur. So today, I am extremely excited to announce that I have partnered with La Burrita in order to create a special edition menu item called the Mendoza Burrito. So when deciding what to put in my burrito, I was inspired by my Cuban heritage. I needed to put arroz y frijoles in there, also known as rice and beans, as well as adding the classic combo of steak and chimichurri. And then I top it all off with a Cuban-inspired quinta sauce. None of this would have been possible without the unconditional love and support from my mother.
Burger in Bloomington, every dollar going toward a cure. That's who Fernando Mendoza is, before we ever talk about football. Growing up in Miami, Fernando Mendoza was a standout, but not the kind that had Alabama calling. He was a 2-star recruit. The recruiting services had him ranked as the 72nd best quarterback in his class. But at Christopher Columbus High School, he was a winner. He led his team to the state semifinals. He threw for over 1,300 yards and 16 touchdowns across 2 varsity seasons. He was also student body vice president, campus ministry president, social media director for the honors program, a Silver Knight Award nominee given to students with outstanding academics and community service. This wasn't just an athlete. This was a complete human being. When the Power 5 schools didn't come calling in big numbers, Fernando had a decision to make. He committed to Yale, an Ivy League education, smart, secure, respectable. But deep down, a fire still burned. He wanted to prove himself on the biggest stage, and then California came knocking. He flipped his commitment. He was going to the Pac-12, he was going to Cal, and absolutely nobody saw what was coming next. Fernando Mendoza arrived at Cal in 2022 and redshirted his first year, watching, learning, developing. When he finally got his shot during his redshirt freshman season, he threw for 1,708 yards, 14 touchdowns, but also 10 interceptions across 8 starts. He was raw, he was learning, but the talent was undeniable.
And breaking away!
By his sophomore and junior seasons, Mendoza steadied the ship. He earned back-to-back ACC Quarterback of the Week honors against Oregon State and Wake Forest. He set career highs in passing yards and completions. His 56 pass attempts against Wake Forest were the most by a Cal quarterback since 2016. He was developing, but Cal was struggling, and Fernando knew he needed a bigger stage. On December 11, 2024, he entered the transfer portal. He didn't know it yet, but the greatest chapter of his life was about to begin. 12 days later, he announced his destination, Indiana University. Indiana, a program that hadn't won a national championship in its entire history, a program that had never produced a Heisman Trophy winner, a program that ESPN talking heads laughed about when the transfer was announced. That's where Fernando Mendoza chose to go.
He keeps it, curls around, lunges for the end zone, and he's in.
Going for the corner. It's caught. It's Surratt. It is touchdown.
Under head coach Curt Cignetti, who had already proven his formula at James Madison, Indiana had built something special, a veteran roster, transfer portal savvy, and an offensive system perfectly suited for a cerebral, big-armed quarterback. All they needed was the right guy. Fernando Mendoza was that guy. The 2025 season was unlike anything Indiana football had ever seen. Week after week, Mendoza dismantled opponents with surgical precision. He set Indiana's single-game completion percentage record at 95% against Indiana State. He threw 5 touchdowns in a single half and sat out the second half because the game was already over.
Indiana with Lee Beebe in the backfield for Mendoza has had a very good first half. That's a strike right to allow.
By the end of the regular season, he had completed 71.5% of his passes for 2,980 yards and a nation-leading 33 touchdown passes with just 5 interceptions. Indiana went 13-0. They won the Big Ten championship, and for the first time in school history, Indiana was ranked number 1 in the country. And in a moment that made the whole family story even more poetic, Fernando's younger brother Alberto was on the same roster. In Week 2 against Kennesaw State, both Mendoza brothers threw touchdown passes in the same FBS game, the first brothers to do that since 2015. Elsa Mendoza watched from the stands. On December 13th, 2025, Fernando Mendoza became the first player in Indiana University history to win the Heisman Trophy. He received 84.66% of all possible points, the 7th highest total in the trophy's history, surpassing Charlie Ward's legendary 1993 win.
I'm at a loss of words. Wow, I mean, thank you to everybody. Thank you to everybody. First, I want to thank God for giving me the opportunity to chase a dream that once felt the world away. Standing here tonight, holding this bad boy, representing Indiana University, still doesn't feel real.
He finished first in all 6 voting regions, the first player to do that since Caleb Williams in 2022. He didn't just win the Heisman, he won the Maxwell Award.
Fernando Mendoza won the Maxwell Award. That's given to the nation's top player, as well as the Davey O'Brien Award to the nation's best quarterback.
The Walter Camp Award, the Davey O'Brien Award.
It's been a whirlwind, and I can't thank God enough for blessing us and having all these great achievements, accolades, and it's been such a whirlwind. It's happened so fast, but the greatest joy out of all this is bringing joy to others, whether it's bringing the joy to my family, the state of Indiana, or lifelong Hoosiers. It's been a great blessing.
Peak College Football Player of the Year.
It sounds so beautiful. I want to give all the glory to God. You're never supposed to be in this position, but by the glory of God, the great coaches, great teammates, everyone we have around us, we were able to pull this off. Whoever thought the Hoosiers would be here, but now the Hoosiers are flipping champs. Let's go!
Big Ten Offensive Player of the Year. The 2-star recruit from Miami swept every major award in college football. In his acceptance speech, he didn't talk about himself first. He talked about his mother. He talked about his family's Cuban roots. He talked about everyone who told him 2 stars wasn't enough.
It's a product of a family, team, community, and a whole lot of people who believed in me long before anybody knew my name. To the Heisman Trust, voters, legends standing behind me, and all who cherish this award and what it stands for, it's a privilege to join this fraternity.
The CFP run was the stuff of legends. Mendoza set Rose Bowl records for completion percentage and passer rating against Alabama, finishing 14 for 16 with 3 touchdowns. He threw 5 touchdown passes on 17 of 20, passing to dismantle Oregon in the semifinal. Indiana was unbeatable, and then the championship game was set.
Touchdown! Omar Cooper!
Miami, Florida, Hard Rock Stadium, Fernando Mendoza's hometown, against the Miami Hurricanes. The kid who grew up in the shadows of that very stadium, who watched games there as a child, was now playing for a national title on that same turf. 4th and 5, fourth quarter. His team needed him. And Fernando Mendoza, the kid nobody fully believed in, ran it in himself on a 12-yard touchdown that gave Indiana an ever larger lead, inching closer to that national title. Final score, Indiana 27, Miami 21, the school's first ever national championship. Tom Brady, Fernando's self-described football idol, was on the sideline before the game, just to watch, because when you understand greatness, you show up for it. Fernando Mendoza didn't come from a football factory. He didn't have 4 stars next to his name. He wasn't recruited by Alabama or Ohio State. He was a 2-star kid from Miami, whose grandparents fled Cuba with nothing, whose mother battles an incurable disease every single day, and who chose to bet on himself when nobody else would.
He keeps it, curls around, lunges for the end zone, and he's in!
He chose faith over fear.
2 per tote. Look at that! Touchdown, Surratt!
He chose Indiana when it wasn't the sexy pick.
The shotgun. Mendoza's pass is caught. This time EJ for the payday. Touchdown, Williams.
He brought his brother along for the ride. He raised money for MS Research every step of the way. And then he went out and won the Heisman, won the national championship, and went home to Miami to do it. The recruiting rankings missed badly, but Fernando Mendoza never missed on who he was. Truly a one-of-a-kind kid with strong faith, family, and football talent. If you enjoyed this story, hit subscribe and let us know in the comments. Who's the most underrated player in college football right now? I'll see you in the next one.